Okay guys, now what we've done on the previous video, just to reiterate, is on your VOMA florative, we've created a list called VOMA Floralive is the project, VOMA is the phase, meta tags part 1 is the type of keyword list. Use your own naming convention if you wish. Also for cluster of VOMA Floralive flower essences. You see how clearly that naming convention is made? Yes, I agree that we can have a wizard later on to prevent you from having to do your own naming convention. Some of you would probably prefer that, but we wanted to provide flexibility because every SEO, SEM firm uses a slightly different method. Okay, and so what we want to look at now, these are all keywords that the client imported. Okay, for example, Dr. Edward Bach is 48 cents, and that is actually a keyword that the client was thinking about using. Okay, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. It has no total search market value. That's actually interesting. Okay, and then Green Hope Farm. So there is some traffic to this. This is just interesting to point out. Okay, but what we're looking at here is you can see that the average keyword cost in these terms, he's got some very different things. Prelandra, applied kinesiology. Okay, all of these are kind of not super expensive markets, but they're also kind of all over the place. In fact, naturopathy in itself is really a broad area that would need to be drilled into separately. But that's what you're looking for because you can do breakaways at any time by view as new theme, and you may want to do this. Okay, so let's go into this a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead, since we're on this note, I'm going to go ahead and return to import lists, and I'm going to import the second list that he gave me, which is the very broad stuff. I also want to point out that you do have the yearly organic ranking max, and that's the number 1 and 2 position for every keyword on this particular list over the course of 1 year. And it's got the collective searches and the natural queries and the pay-per-click clicks per day and the queries per day. All right here. You can actually segment lists, start looking at them. Let's add a new import list. And this time I'm going to take the second half of those very broad general terms. Okay, and you can see he has things like abuse and stress. These are just very, very broad. But we're going to get into this client's specific case. And guys, you really do have to do that in order to get a really unique business model in place with the optimal synonymic set. So let's go ahead and we're going to call this VOMA meta tags part 2. Floralive is is the project. Meta tags is the type of list. Click submit. Do a quick drill. Take about 20 seconds. It's always very interesting to see extremely broad terms. Now, Doc is using a lot of emotional terms because he has over 100 different kinds of species of flowers whose hormonal and vibrational extracts have been shown to affect similar to Bach flower remedies, which have been known by hundreds of thousands of people worldwide to have a profound calming effect for whatever reason. Abuse is extremely broad. Energy is just ridiculously broad. You would never go for that. But as you get better at this, guys, and we're going to have a whole section that covers commercial intent and qualifier words, you can add, like, for example, buy something, or like you could add emotional abuse to make this into a long tail, and then it would be very, very targetable. You see what I mean? But these are things you got to learn by looking at your client's list, and you got to determine what you're really trying to do. He's all over the place because he's got spiritual transformation. It's up to you to learn how to segment this market and determine, does it even belong on the same site or does it belong on a different site? And I'm going to have to qualify this by the conversations that I had with Doc today, because there's really room for him to have multiple websites or multiple blogs, or a blog that breaks things down into these emotions like self-esteem, tips, or something like that. He might want to go for the long tails, although that's probably something that can be targeted. Sometimes you will find very interesting terms like herbal antidepressants, $1.72, 21,766 queries per day. Okay, this is not a huge profit stream, but these are very useful things because they're probably very easy to rank for. When I come back, I'm going to take you back to the flower screen, the flower essence screen, back to your 0 point. This is why we call it phase 0. And we're going to get into where to go from here. And just keep in mind, you're aggregating all this data, and you'll end up where you need to be. See you in a moment.